How would you feel if the company you work for suddenly went bankrupt? Anger, despair, sadness, or futility? Sorry, the person you called is busy. Leave a message in the mailbox after the beep. The answer is all of these feelings. Here is the appearance of our protagonist. He is with us, completely ecstatic, saying, I'm going to go crazy. He was trying to call his boss and said, why aren't you answering the phone? I'm losing my patience. 6 weeks after this happened, someone was probably interviewing our protagonist for a job. People say he's too old to work at this cafe. He just says, yeah, I get it. Walking down the street, looking at his cell phone, he says it's hard to find a job in the middle of the term because of his age. He puts his hand in his pocket and thinks, I can't believe it's been over a month and I haven't been able to find any part-time work. This is a big problem. If I pay my phone bill, my account balance will go to zero and I'll still have to pay bills next month. Suddenly, something very bright catches his attention. He thinks, has this place always been so lit up? He sees a large convenience store and says, when did this huge convenience store open? He looks at the front of the store and sees some flyers. The flyer says, we are hiring part-time workers. All genders are accepted, no age restriction. Everyone is welcome. This makes him immediately enter the store. He approaches the person at the counter and says he came because of the flyer that advertised part-time position. He asks if they are still hiring. The cashier seems a bit taken aback for a moment, and our protagonist keeps wondering why she had that reaction. He thinks, doesn't she know about the flyer in front? He says, excuse me, and the woman looks astonished. She says, yes, we are hiring. She mentions that she is the manager. Our protagonist thinks, manager? You don't look older than a high school student. She appears more nervous than our protagonist during this job interview. Desperate to fetch chairs and some drinks, she keeps asking, what would you like to drink? You are free to say anything, huh? He replies, asking only for a coffee. He sits down with his documents, and she asks for his personal details. He says his name is Chan, and he is 29 years old. She asks if he has worked in a convenience store before, and he says yes, a few years ago. She lights up and says, you are the perfect person, with experience and age. We were looking for you. She reveals that she is even older than him, though she doesn't look it, and asks if she can speak more informally with him. He agrees, thinking, wow, you look much younger than. She continues saying that the convenience store has an implementation period of up to a year, and she says it's for 3 years. Chan thinks, yes, it seems like my sleep routine is going to get all messed up, but she mentions that without the benefits, the initial salary is 20,000 won per month. She keeps talking, and the job, I'll do it. Chan doesn't even wait for her to finish speaking. She says, you don't even want to think about it, I'll start today. She is very happy to hear that, and she says, so, just sign this contract here. After he signs it, she checks if he filled everything out correctly. He says, yes. She says, then this sound will stay with you. And then the employee starts working, saying they'll start today. She says, so for you, Chan, since you're starting today, we'll begin with the new employee training. After 3 hours of training, the employee says she's leaving now and mentions that sometimes new markets aren't so good. They might arrive very early in the morning, and they just need to make sure everything is checked properly. The manager asks if they can really get there early in the morning. The manager says it is very urgent. She says, I will handle the organization. You just need to receive it for me. Then she says there is something very important to tell him, handle suspicious customers reliably. Okay? Chan responds, don't worry, I'm used to dealing with suspicious people. She says, that's a relief. And she says, well, now I'll go. Good luck on your first shift. Huh? Chan just waves goodbye, looking dead tired. He thinks, relieved, finally, I can pay the bills now. He remembers what he learned and what he discussed with the manager. He says not only does he find the job good, but he also considers himself a great employee. He was very lucky and already had a lot of experience with vehicle workshop. He admits he didn't know how the system worked even after reading bad things. He didn't know how it worked. Apparently, it's 20,000 won per hour, not per month like our salary. He associated it with their salary, but it's per hour. He says that in the end, if he works well for 12 hours, he earns a salary of 8.4 million won. He is very happy. Just look at his cute little face. He says working a single month already covers many of his bills and things he needs to pay. While he is very focused on this, suddenly someone arrives, and he quickly says, welcome. He gets startled by who enters the store, but the person simply asks where the toothbrush is, and he points to it. The person approaches and asks, where exactly? And when we see this, it's like a dog. A guy with a chihuahua-like face. It's very strange. He says, say something, you idiot. Where's the toothbrush? He starts cursing our protagonist, saying, where the hell is this toothbrush? I'm already exhausted from work. I come here to the store, and you don't want to tell me where the toothbrush is? Our protagonist gently points out, it's at the end of the 4th aisle, right there. The chihuahua-faced guy leaves a bit upset, saying, you should have said that earlier. People see the chihuahua look looking closely at the toothbrush like that. And Chan think this must be special effects makeup for movies, right? Chan thinks, am I filming here? Is this makeup really that good? Then the guy goes to the counter and asks how much it costs. Chan says it's 2,101. The guy puts the bill on the counter, but he leaves a 10,001 note. While Chan is getting his change, the guy is already leaving. Chan says, sir, your change. The guy just looks at the door and says, why are you bothering me? I'm tired of this crap. And he slams the door. Chan thinks, is there a suspicious person who isn't actually suspicious? Then he says, and keeps thinking, was that really makeup? Why does it look so realistic? He even thinks the sounds were like those of a real dog. Suddenly, the next person who enters has a bag full of coins. And when we see it, it's a goblin. He even has lovely heart-shaped glasses. He says to our protagonist, exchange this for a 10,001 note for me, please. Chan is completely in shock, right? He just admires the goblin for a moment, saying nothing. Very slowly, he picks up the phone. The goblin keeps saying, what are you doing? Just exchange it for me immediately. The manager even calls and says, Chan, what happened? Chan says, boss, a goblin just entered the store. Then he saw the goblin leaving, all happy with his bill. Chan, defeated at the counter, thinks he wants to go home. He keeps thinking, this isn't a dream, it was definitely a real goblin. He was also very confused about how much those coins the goblin gave him were worth. The goblin was looking very strangely while counting the money. He counted 1,145 101 coins and 31 501 coins for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, the manager is still on the phone asking, Chan, have all the customers left? And he says, with his face on the counter, boss, I think I'm going crazy. Since I started my shift, only people with very strange appearances have shown up. First, a customer with a very angry chihuahua had arrived. Then a goblin came wanting to exchange 30,001 in coins for bills. He says, this seems strange, right? But the manager says there's nothing strange about what he said. She mentions that the teleportation area is very close, so there's a high probability that kobolds and goblins will appear. But as she's talking, Chan interrupts and says, wait a minute, boss. Teleportation? What do you mean by teleportation? Do you need teleportation to get here? She says yes. To get to the customers, teleportation is indeed needed. And he asks how teleportation works for a convenience store. Are you a store manager or a wizard? She simply responds, yes, I'm a wizard. Didn't you know? My convenience store is enchanted with teleportation magic, and I cast this magic myself. That's why my store operates in various places. While all this was happening, Chan stood there in ecstasy. And we say, I should have told you this before, but never mind. I will explain the details to you tomorrow. Meanwhile, Chan goes to open the store door. When he opens it, he gets scared. She says that he is actually from a completely different world than hers. On the street, there are various other races besides human. You don't understand. There are even bad hybrids, red hybrids, skeletons, orcs, minotaurs, robots, zombies, witches, lizards. And then we say, you know, it's just a joke, right? But if it were true, it would be very funny, wouldn't it? He simply closes the store. The owner says, boss, earlier you made a joke about going to another world. But it's true. I really am a person who came from another world. Where I come from, there is no magic, no other species. The manager is at home, listening to all this while eating snacks, and she gets very scared when she hears it. He says, what do I do now? Suddenly, there is a knock on the store door. Apparently, it's another customer, but the customer is a vampire. Chan is very scared, almost frozen. While the manager asks, how are you, Chan? The vampire is knocking on the door to enter the store. After a while, after Chan recovers, the manager says, can you hear me? He replies, yes, boss, you can talk. She says, well, I was thinking, it seems like you have come to our world, right? He agrees. Meanwhile, he is watching the vampire, who is shopping. The manager says, but I really don't know what happened for you to come here. I've never seen anything like it. Meanwhile, the old man is downstairs on the balcony, desperate. He is observing the vampire very suspiciously. He says, anyway, I have to deal with this here. He first asks, how do I deal with each species? The vampire is also crawling on the floor, which makes him laugh at the moment. The old man asks about the customer's status. The one who is walking on the floor and laughing like a ghost. The manager asks, laughing how? What does she look like? He replies, she has thorns on her head. She has some small wings on her back. Actually, she isn't a vampire. Guys, she's a succubus. Because the manager says she's a succubus, she mentions that they are not dangerous. And Chan thinks, so this is a succubus. The manager says, for now, you will need a curse detector, which is under the counter. It's easy to find since it's colorful. While he's looking for it, he says, it really is colorful. What kind of color should it have? He finds a pink fairy wand with wings and stars and says, boss, is this toy really a curse detector? The manager says, yes, doesn't it look like one? She explains that people affected by a curse are usually depressed, so she designed it to make people a bit happier. Chan thinks if they were with him, they would get more depressed. She says, just press it against an exposed part of the person's skin and press the button. Meanwhile, the succubus is already at the counter, with her head under the counter, and he faces the protagonist, who has a pink detector in hand. Feeling in danger, he pressed the button on the magic detector. A stick extended out and hit the succubus in the face, and she was struck by small butterflies. Chan was startled, not knowing what to do. While holding that huge wand, the succubus lay on the floor covered in sparkles. Then the wand returned to its place, and the detector started to glow brightly. Chan slowly walked over to check on the customer. She was completely knocked out on the floor. He thought, "Boss, I killed her." Then the boss asked, "Ah, so she was hit by the detector?" He replied, "Yes, and very hard." Then she came over and said, "Oh, that's how it should be." "Don't worry," she asked. "And the results?" He said the detector was glowing with a purple light now. She said, "And then?" "You discreetly take the cursed medicine right at the end of the bike path." He asked, "Flu medicine? Is it this one?" She confirmed, "Yes, that's it. Give her 2 pills." Apparently, this customer had the flu. Well, not really. It's a flu-like disease, but with the same effect. Suddenly, the succubus slowly got up. He thought he would handle the situation from a distance. He asked the customer, "Are you okay?" He asked, "Are you feeling better now?" Here, take this medicine. You'll feel better." When the succubus got up, she had a much prettier face than before. He thought, "Oh, she looks much better now." He asked, "Are you okay now?" But she suddenly felt very nauseous. He said, wait, but she started to vomit rainbows all over the store. Chan was completely shocked by this. She felt much better after that. She said, "I feel so much better." A lake of vomit was in front of her. Chan cautiously said, "If you're done, you can leave now." But she just gave him a cute look and said, "Oh, relax." Only our protagonist was not happy at all. After vomiting, she even fell asleep near the vomit. He thought, "You're going to sleep now?" And meanwhile, she was already snoring. Another person who looked like a vampire entered the store, but he didn't know if it was an incubus or a vampire, calling his boss. But when he looked, she was sleeping next to the vomit near Chan. And Chan said, "Welcome." He spoke very sinisterly. "Is there something you're looking for?" He asked, "Do you have a bag of blood at 17 degrees? Meanwhile, on the phone, the manager said she hadn't taken the medicine yet. Chan said he would give the medicine after she woke up and after the other customer left. The manager said, "Don't rush." She said they only had blood bags from 15 degrees Celsius below, so she told him to recommend another store to the current customer. Meanwhile, he cleaned the rainbow vomit off the floor. And then we also verify the identity before selling the blood packet. "Is he a vampire?" And Chan says, "Yes, probably." She explains that vampires live very long and always look young, so they constantly renew their identity. Usually, vampires present defeated IDs marked with an X. These people are generally adults. She usually says that since the store has a magic alarm, he can feel free to inspect. Chan wonders if the store has an alarm system. Meanwhile, the vampire approaches him with a basket full of things, saying, "Ah, this is your precaution." When he arrives at the counter, Chan explains that they only sell blood packages of 15 degrees or lower, and he will have to go to another store. The vampire says it's fine and that he'll just buy what's in the basket. Meanwhile, Chan offers a bag that costs 101 to carry everything. The vampire says he'll take the bag and wants a pack of cigarettes as well, asking what kind of cigarettes they have. The vampire seems a bit confused and says, "That one over there." Chan replies, "This one?" The vampire says, "Yes, this one, the one under your hand. Give me one of those." But Chan is looking at him very suspiciously. He continues staring for a few seconds until the vampire becomes a bit uncomfortable with the situation. Chan thinks that maybe this customer could be a midget. Then Chan asks, "Can I see your ID, sir?" The vampire gets a bit nervous and says, "Ah, actually, I'm renewing mine and only have an expired one." So Chan says, "Can you show me your current ID or any other you have?" The vampire asks, "Can't you just sell it?" He says, "No, it's a procedure." Then the vampire says, "Oh, really?" and bites the vampire and says, Okay, go. My friend is waiting for me outside, so don't take too long." Meanwhile, Chan checked the ID. He thinks that even in his world, IDs are very similar to the ones in this world. It seems that there is nothing wrong. Apparently, the photo looks just like the vampire standing there, but there's the X at the top, which is normal because the manager said vampires usually have advanced IDs. He says that it seems fine, but due to the vampire's reaction, he will explore a bit more. Suddenly, he sees a rainbow shining under the photo. He asks, "What color is this?" Then he starts to peel off the sticker from the photo. Suddenly, a large rainbow tornado starts to form inside the store, shining brightly. Chan asks, "What is this?" Meanwhile, everything heads toward the vampire, this colorful light. The vampire wonders, "Why is this coming after me?" Chan continues to marvel at this and everything that is happening. The light keeps chasing the vampire, who runs and says, "Why are you chasing me?" And the vampire asks, "What did you do, sir?" Then Chan asks, "Sorry, but is this your ID?" The vampire says, "Just point it somewhere else." Chan asks, "Where should I put this?" Meanwhile, the succubus is still sleeping on the floor. After a while, the light simply stops on its own, and when the photo stops glowing, Chan sees a picture of something that looks like a muscular guy with a cat's head and whiskers. Chan gets very scared and shows the ID to the vampire, saying, "Do you see that the sticker came off? It looks like the ID changed." Then Chan says, "You know this is an illegal ID, right?" The vampire desperately tries to come up with a bunch of excuses. Chan says, "Boss, did you hear everything?" She replies, "Yes, I'm calling the police." The vampire quickly snatches the ID from Chan's hand and runs out of the store. Then his boss says, "Can you explain the situation?" Chan says, "Ah, yes. So, I suspected him, and in the end, it was really the Midja." The boss says, "Really? It was the Midja? This could have become a big problem." The boss asks, "But how did you know? I didn't even hear the store alarm." Chan explains, "Yes, his ID had a sticker with a photo on top. When I removed it, some kind of magic came from the ID." The boss asks, "Did you recognize it with the naked eye?" He replies, "Yes, I've seen this kind of thing before." The boss says, "This kind of thing is not easy to do." The boss explains that IDs in this world have a lot of security. Therefore, forging one or doing something like this is extremely difficult. So, the people who create this type of ID are really very skilled. Usually, these people use illusion magic that adapts to what the person wants, and it is not easy to see it with the naked eye at all. The old man says, "Is it really very difficult to do this?" The boss asks how he recognized it. The old man continues thinking that it was illusion magic. He wonders if vampires are really formidable creatures like that. It was actually very easy to uncover this because it was like a sticker he removed. Ironically, the vampire himself, well, the person who forged it, was that vampire. He was very confused by what happened. Then, suddenly, the boss calls and says, "So, Chan, maybe we should terminate our contract?" This makes our protagonist collapse. He is completely shocked and just stands there, speechless. Then he asks if he did something wrong, and she says, "No, of course not. The contract is going very well. It's just that you are from another world and came to ours accidentally, and that must be scary and very difficult for you." He says, "I don't know. Yes, I'm fine. Actually, it's not difficult or scary for me at all." And he says, "Then I want to continue working here." He asks, "Is that okay with you?" Meanwhile, the boss remained silent, and Chan grew worried. He thought she was really concerned about him being from another world, but he said he really needs to keep working here because he has many bills to pay. If he doesn't have a job next month, he'll have to live like a beggar. She says, okay, but enough nonsense now, okay? And she lets him continue working there, obviously. He says, "Yes, if it's okay with you, we can keep working here." Some people are already thinking, like, and the boss is talking on the phone, and she says, yes, I was thinking the same thing." His boss says, "But did you give the medicine to Suku? Why is she still on the floor?" He thinks, oh, she's still there. He says he'll give her the medicine now. He just sprinkles some powder in her mouth while she's sleeping. He says, "Yes, I gave her the medicine now." He mentions she hasn't reacted yet, but she says that's normal, and soon she'll regain her senses. However, the boss says she might feel some nausea or dizziness. He says, "Understood, this won't happen again." Then the boss asks if he thinks she seemed a bit dizzy or anything like that, and he says he didn't feel that. So the boss tells him to check her again with the curse detector. He grabs that decorated, cute one again and says it's just making a strange noise and not turning on. He wonders if her body is in a bad condition, and the boss says, "No, it's not that. It seems to be in a very specific, special state." Suddenly, he feels a strong vibration in the store and wonders, what is this? He thinks, what was that noise and vibration just now? Are meteors raining down? When he steps out of the store to see what it is, he sees many boxes. He thinks, what are these piles of packages? He hears a voice saying, "The order has arrived." And then he sees a person riding a Pegasus. This person says, "Ah, so you're the new first period employee my sister mentioned? Nice to meet you." Then he says, "Wait a second," and calls the boss on the phone. He says, "Boss, someone riding a Pegasus just appeared with the delivery. Is this the logistics person you mentioned before?" The boss says, Yes, it's Yunha. I asked her, and she said she could deliver today." Then he asks, "Yunha?" She approaches and says, "Yes, that's my name. I'm Yunha. Since you know enough about me, can you let me into the store?" He says, Yes, of course." She says, "Can you sign here just to verify that the items have indeed arrived?" He says, Yes, of course." While he signs, she picks up some boxes. Then he says, "Boss, I'm not very familiar with the written language of this world. How can I confirm the arrival of the item?" And his boss says, I'll talk to Yunha about it later. Just leave your signature for now." He asks, Okay, but what items arrived?" She says, Drinks, cookies, and dragon scale." Chan, upon hearing this, is very perplexed. The boss says, "I thought they wouldn't come today, but the supplier said he bought them for us." While the boss explains this to Chan, she asks, "Wait, is there a dragon in your world?" He says, "No, that's nonsense. How could there be if there's no magic?" Chan looks disappointed upon hearing this. She says, "Wow, your world is even more outdated than our rural world." Chan says, "Please, don't compare other people's worlds like that." Suddenly, Suku starts waking up, and Chan says, "Customer, you finally opened your eyes." "Yes, I'll settle your bill now that you're awake." Suddenly, Suku stands up and asks, "What is love?" Chan says, "Boss, please call a taxi." Then Chan helps Suku into the taxi. She's still a bit disoriented. In the taxi, Chan says, "Customer, here's your card and the bill for the medicine you bought. Hold on tight, because you might lose it." The driver, who looks like a hamster, asks, "Did your customer just drink alcohol?" Chan replies, "No, she's under some kind of curse, but now that she's taken the medicine, she should be better." Chan just tells him to take good care of her, but she keeps saying, saying, what is love? Even if you seem to understand, it's elusive to the eyes. Our protagonist replies, it's something you want but can't have. She fully wakes up and sees Chan looking at her very seriously, almost like Saitama. She asks, what does that mean? Chan, with his head inside the taxi, feeling a bit bored, just says, forget what I said. Then the taxi leaves, and he says he'll finally be able to get some peace and quiet. But suddenly, he sees Yunha knocking on the store door and wonders why she's acting that way. He asks, what's wrong? Yunha says, can you tell my sister that I'm taking the scales back? He asks, why? She explains that there's a problem with the dragon scales. A mouse was trying to resolve the issue with the manager over the phone, and she had been talking with her for a long time. Chan wonders if the problem is really that big. This reminds Chan of when he worked in a restaurant, seeing the delivery person and the chef arguing over ingredients. Yes, really, if there's defective merchandise, there's nothing he can do, right? Basically, you just need to hold the fort and do your job. Suddenly, Yunha turns to him and asks, your name is Lee Chan, right? He replies, yes, that's right. Then Yunha says, my sister wants to talk to you. She shows a video call from his boss. She says, hi, Chan. He responds, boss. She says, Chan, how about you and Yunha go there to check the status of the dragon scales? And he says, okay, why me too? They descend the stairs to what looks like a convenience store warehouse. But the stairs are stone and everything is very dark, resembling more a medieval castle. Chan touches the sides and says, is this really a convenience store? Why does it look like a dungeon? Then Rafa says, is this the first time you've seen a warehouse? Yes, it's my first time. I was like that too at the beginning. See, I told you, sister, your taste is unique. The manager says, how I decorate my convenience store is my business. But the manager's sister says, there are some limits. Do you know how strange this interior looks? She retorts, you're going to keep provoking me, right? She says, you're really going to keep provoking me? They finally reach a room with some cardboard boxes, and Yunha says, it's a bit dirty, stay here for a moment. Chan asks, you asked me to come here, but is there anything I can do, boss? The manager says just to follow her orders for now. She has a plan in mind. The dirt Yunha mentioned is actually a weird slime all over the room. It seems to be coming from a dragon scale with a hole leaking the slime. Chan is repulsed and asks the manager what this dark gooey slime is. She explains it's pus contaminated with magical power, which can happen when the dragon scale's purification isn't done properly. Chan asks Yunha if the thing that looks like a turtle shell is the dragon scale. Yunha confirms and says that recently some dragon scales arriving in this part of the country were being rejected. So, she took these as quickly as possible, but apparently, the cleaning company didn't manage to clean them properly in their rush, and this happened. This isn't very serious, so if we purify it properly, we can still sell it. We can't return it to the company because it's 3 a.m. and the company is closed, the manager says. And that's why I called you, Chan. He asks, me? She replies, yeah, Chan, can you press the button, please? He's like, what? Then a rat hands him a piece of something and offers it to him. The manager says, just touch it, it's not dangerous. I trust you a lot with this. Chan protests, no way, I'm not touching this. I might get sick. She says, I'll give you 100,000 won if you do it. He agrees, deal. Yunha thinks, wow, that was easy to convince. When he touches it, the pus recoils. He's like, what? Is this thing alive? The manager says, no, it's just a spike of magical power. Yunha says, but it looked like it was dodging Chan. The manager says, okay, ignore it and throw it. He says, okay, and slaps the goo. It suddenly starts glowing. Both of them in the room are stunned by the light emanating from it. It seems it was purified just by Chan's touch. Yunha says, it really happened, just like my sister said. She shows the screen of the phone, saying, look, sister, it was purified just like you said. And the agent says, no, it's too early to celebrate. She says, can you take that one I gave you and touch it? He does so. He asks, boss, there was no reaction. Is that normal? The agent replies, yes, it's because there's no magical power to detect. This kind of reaction happens when the purification is truly done. She says, it seems my prediction was correct. She says, Chan, apparently you have an anti-magic constitution. He thinks, anti-magic? Then Yunha says, it's simple, it's a body that can't acquire magic. Magic simply doesn't work on this body. The manager says, right, and can we have a chat now? So he goes to the corner with a cell phone to talk privately with her. She says, Chan, do you remember when we tested your body before? And the one made a lot of noise? That reaction only happens in two cases. The first is when there's no magical power. In our world, this can be incredibly dangerous, but since Chan is from another world, this is irrelevant. The remaining possibility was that the test didn't work because of your resistance to magic. Chan asks, resistance to magic? The manager says, yes, that makes much more sense. That's why I brought you to the dragon scale. She says, yes, tell me more details after Yunha leaves, okay? He says, yes, understood. As he hangs up, he thinks, what is she talking about? How does my body repel magic? It feels like I'm the protagonist of a manga who has just discovered a power that's existed since birth. Suddenly, Yunha appears, closing in on him, as if giving him a hug and slamming him against the wall. She hits so hard that the wall even cracked. Yunha says, I have a favor to ask of you. Are you listening? listening? He replies, what's the favor? With a big smile, she says, please help me purify these dragon scales. Chan asks, why me? She says, yes, you can do it. When he looks at the cell phone screen, even the manager is pleading with him, making a puppy dog face as if asking for food or to be adopted. That pitiful look. Chan thinks, are you serious? You want me to do the purification? Even Yunha is making a pleading face. He was almost blinded by the brightness of Yunha's eyes. Chan says, okay, I'll do it, just tell me how. Yunha, really? Thank you so much, Chan. The manager says, thanks a lot for helping, Chan. As if they hadn't just put the world's biggest pressure on the boy. Ash says, the method is simple, just stick your whole arm into that hole in the bed. Meanwhile, he just looks at the hole with a very disappointed face. Chan says, I don't want to do this yet. The manager says it's not dangerous to put his arm in there. You have a special body, so nothing bad will happen. Just put your arm in for a moment. It's quick, she says. It will be safe, please. Chan says, I'm sorry, I just don't have the courage for this. The manager then takes a lot of money, shows it to the camera, and says, if everything goes well, I'll give you a bonus. Chan says, okay, I'll try. Rafa says, if it hurts, you'll scream, right? He approaches the bed full of dragon whiskers and thinks, wow, this is the grossest thing here. But he thinks, I need the money, so go for it. For the bonus, he shoves his arm in. The hole is much larger than he thought, as his whole arm goes in and he gets pulled along with it. Rafa asks, Chan, are you okay? He replies, yes, but something is sucking me in. Rafa says, what do you mean? Pull hard, get out of there. Then Rafa grabs him by the neck and starts pulling. Chan feels like the pus is being sucked into the hole. There's that bright light again. Apparently, the pus is being purified and expelled. The bed starts glowing intensely. Chan falls to the floor and says, wow, that was chaotic. What a disaster for my first day of work, right? Yunha falls as well, landing on her. Chan says, oh, I'm sorry, Yunha. Are you hurt anywhere? She replies, no, I'm fine. And you, are you hurt? He says, no, I'm fine. Thanks to you, I didn't hit my head. She says, more importantly, can you go and check the dragon scales? He takes the super cute wand and hits the dragon scales, but there's no reaction. Chan says, no reaction, it seems like a rock. Yunha says, really? Then it was a success. She starts praising him. Chan, you saved us from a 10 million won loss. He gets all embarrassed hearing that. After that, they leave to celebrate and head out. She mentions that she already contacted her sister, who confirmed that everything went well. She tells him not to worry, as they won't have the same problems with the deliveries in the coming days. The old man asks, do you come every day? She says, no, it takes time and it's a bit difficult to handle these magical creature deliveries. The old man says, oh, then take care on your way back. She says, no formalities, please. Yunha mentions that her sister said he's just a year younger than her. Meanwhile, the manager is ecstatic at home for hiring him. She says, so you can call me Nuna. He says, I'll try, Yunha. Oh, I mean, Nuna. She says, see you later. And she leaves, flying on a Pegasus, leaving behind a lot of pain. As he looks back, he realizes the sun has already risen. It's morning. Then the next customer arrives, dropping many items on the counter. He says, ring this up quickly for me. Please do it fast. I have to catch a bus. Chan says, it's 9,801. The kobold shows a 10k note and says, keep the change. Chan says, okay, and rings it up. Next, there's a fairy, very tiny, and in the middle, a guy who looks like a god but resembles a slime wearing clothes, and behind him is a man who looks like a stone golem. Over time, Chan thinks, wow, I'm so tired. I stayed up all night. I'm so sleepy I could just crash here. And usually at this moment, I send a message, are you sleepy? He replies, I'm fine. She sends another message saying that he worked hard on the purification and that she'll send him the bonus in cash. He thanks her. She says, but aren't you very sleepy? I thought you'd be after staying up all night. Suddenly, a new customer arrives and says, welcome. He replies, what? Because he looks around and sees no one, just hearing the door open. He thinks, did the customer just come in and leave quickly? He replies to the manager saying, I usually don't sleep for long. The manager says, no, that's not good. You need to sleep well to stay healthy. Do you want me to make a sleeping potion? He asks, you can do that too? She says, of course, I'm a magician. Suddenly, he hears the customer again, but the customer wasn't invisible or going in and out. They were just very short. He can only see the horns, and Chan has to lean on the counter to see the customer. When he looks, it's a little girl with horns and wings on her back. She says, excuse me, sir, do you have colored paper here? And that's it for today's work, folks. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you're enjoying the narration. Thanks so much for the support you've given in the recent videos, and those who comment CLT today will get a little heart, okay? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with that friend who also likes manhwa. That's it, take care and see you next time. See you later.